My wife said for the 1000th time. My ex would never disappoint me like this. I finally snapped. Then maybe you married the wrong person. She went pale. I continued. Lucky for you, I can fix that mistake. The divorce attorney was on speed dial. I, 34 male, have been married to my wife, 32, for 6 years. Together for 8 total. We have no kids, which looking back now feels like the only smart decision we ever made together. Let me paint you a picture of what my marriage has been like. Every argument, every disagreement, every minor inconvenience, there he was. The ghost of boyfriend passed. Her ex. The guy she dated for 2 years in college before he moved across the country for some job, and they mutually ended things. She said she was over him, said it was ancient history, said they'd grown apart and there were no hard feelings. But he never really left our marriage. Forgot to pick up the dry cleaning? My ex always remembered everything. He had this incredible memory for details. Didn't want to go to her cousin's 3rd wedding? My ex loved my family events. He actually enjoyed spending time with my relatives instead of acting like it was torture. Bought the wrong brand of almond milk. My ex knew exactly what I liked without me having to spell it out for him. Got a promotion, but the raise wasn't as big as expected. My ex was so ambitious. He was already a senior manager by 30. I swear to God, if I heard my ex one more time, I was going to lose my mind. And last Tuesday, I finally did. We were having dinner. I'd cooked. Nothing fancy, just some pasta with homemade sauce. Something I've been making for years that she used to love. Used to being the key words here. She took one bite, made this face like I'd served her garbage, and said, "This is so bland. You know, my ex made this amazing bolognese. Like restaurant quality. He actually understood how to season things properly." I put down my fork, set it very carefully beside my plate. Felt something inside me shift. My ex would never disappoint me like this, she continued. Not even looking at me, just scrolling through her phone while criticizing the meal I'd spent an hour making. Something in me just broke, quietly, cleanly, like a bone that's been stressed too many times finally snapping. Then maybe you married the wrong person, I said. Her head snapped up. What did you just say? You heard me. If he was so perfect, if he never disappointed you, if he remembered everything and loved your family and seasoned things properly and was so ambitious, then maybe you should have married him instead of me. She went pale, like actually pale, color draining from her face pale. I've never seen that expression on her before. I was just lucky for you, I continued, keeping my voice completely calm. I can fix that mistake. You don't have to be stuck with disappointing old me anymore. I stood up, took my plate to the kitchen, scraped it into the trash, and went to my home office. Closed the door, sat down at my computer, and I emailed my divorce attorney. Yeah, I already had one. I'd consulted with him 8 months ago during a particularly bad stretch when she compared my career trajectory unfavorably to her ex for what felt like the 100th time. He'd walked me through the basics, told me what to expect in our state, gave me his card, and said, "Call when you're ready." I was ready. She didn't follow me that night. I think she was too shocked. By the time she came to bed, I was pretending to be asleep. She didn't try to wake me, didn't reach for me, just lay there in the dark, and I could hear her breathing heavily like she was trying not to cry. I didn't care. The next morning, I was up and dressed before she woke up. Left for work without saying goodbye. She texted me around 10 a.m. About last night. I think we need to talk. I replied, I agree. We should talk about the divorce process tonight. She called immediately. I declined and texted, I'm at work. We can discuss tonight. She sent about 15 texts in rapid succession. I stopped reading after the first few. Something about how I was overreacting dramatically, and she didn't mean it like that, and I was being petty over nothing. Petty over nothing. After 6 years of being compared to some dude she dated for 24 months when she was 23 years old, I was being petty. I met with my attorney during lunch. Told him I wanted to proceed immediately. He outlined everything. Our state requires a separation period before divorce can be finalized. There's the matter of the house. We both own it. Both our names on the mortgage, division of assets, all that fun stuff. Here's the thing about our finances. We kept things mostly separate. She has her accounts, I have mine. We split the mortgage and bills proportionally based on income. I make about 40% more than her, so I've always paid the larger share. The house we bought together has appreciated nicely over the years. We'd both walk away with a decent chunk if we sold. I wasn't trying to screw her over. I just wanted out. Clean, fair, done. That night, she was waiting for me when I got home. She'd clearly been crying, red eyes, puffy face, tissues everywhere. But she had that look on her face. The one that said she'd been rehearsing exactly what to say. "I'm sorry," she started. "I know I compare you to him sometimes. Sometimes. Okay, maybe more than sometimes. But it doesn't mean anything. It's just venting. Everyone complains about their spouse. Everyone does it." "No," I said. "Everyone doesn't. I have never once compared you to any of my exes. Not once in 8 years. You know why? Because I chose you. I married you. When you choose someone, you stop measuring them against the past." She started crying again. "So that's it? One fight, and you want a divorce?" "This isn't one fight. This is 6 years of being told I'm not good enough. 6 years of being compared to some perfect memory you have of a guy who, let me remind you, left you. He moved across the country and didn't ask you to come. And every single time I bring up how much the comparisons hurt me, you tell me I'm being sensitive, that I should know you don't mean it, that I'm just being insecure and I need to get over it." She opened her mouth to respond. "Tell me I'm being insecure right now," I said. "Go ahead. Tell me one more time that this is my problem." She didn't say anything. "I've already contacted my attorney," I said. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Cooperate and we both walk away with something. Fight and we both walk away with less. Your choice." Update 1, 5 days later. So things have escalated. Of course they have. This is Reddit. Things always escalate. After our conversation, my wife went into full damage control mode. But not the "I need to fix myself and earn back trust" kind of damage control. The "I need to fix him and make him see he's wrong" kind. First, she called her mother. Within 2 hours, my mother-in-law was at our house. Walked right in like she owned the place, which, to be fair, she kind of acts like she does about everything in her daughter's life. Always has. "What's this I hear about you abandoning my daughter?" were the first words out of her mouth. No hello. No context check. Just accusation. "I'm not abandoning anyone. We're getting a divorce. It's a decision that affects both of us." "It is not a decision," my wife yelled from behind her mom. "I never agreed to this. It's happening whether you agree or not," I said. "That's how divorce works. One party can file. I'm filing." My mother-in-law started in on me. How ungrateful I was for everything her daughter had given me. How her daughter had sacrificed the best years of her life for this marriage. How I was going to regret this when I was old and alone and realize what you threw away. The classics. I let her talk. Didn't interrupt. Didn't defend myself. Just waited. When she was done, I said, "Are you finished? Because I have work emails to catch up on." She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. I don't think anyone had ever just not engaged with her before. She's one of those people who feeds on conflict, on getting a rise out of people. And I was giving her nothing. "You're making a huge mistake," she said. "Absolutely huge." Noted. "You can leave now." She didn't leave. She stayed for 3 more hours, crying with my wife in the living room while I worked in my office with the door closed. Finally, they left together, my wife going to stay with her parents until I came to my senses. Fine by me. The house was peaceful for the first time in years. I made myself dinner, seasoned it exactly how I wanted. Didn't hear a single complaint. But that was just the beginning. Over the next few days, I started getting messages from people I hadn't talked to in months. Friends of hers, some mutual friends, even a couple of my own relatives who were close to her family through church or whatever. The story she was telling? That I was having a mental breakdown. That I'd snapped out of nowhere without any warning. That she was the victim of my sudden and cruel abandonment after years of being a devoted wife. Not a single mention of the years of comparisons. Not a word about the ex thing. According to her narrative, we had a perfect marriage, and I just woke up one day and decided to destroy it for no reason. One of her friends actually sent me a message saying, "I can't believe you'd do this to her. She's always said you were the love of her life." I screenshot that and sent it back with, "Funny, she spent 6 years telling me her ex was better than me at everything." Maybe ask her about that before you decide who the victim is here. The friend didn't respond. Then came the real dirty move. Day 4 of her staying at her parents' house, I got a call from our mortgage company. Apparently, someone had been calling repeatedly to inquire about options for the house. Specifically, whether one party could refinance or assume the loan without the other's consent if there were concerns about the stability of the marriage. Guess who that someone was? My wife was already trying to figure out how to get the house for me. Before we'd even talked to lawyers together. Before any papers were filed. Before any actual negotiation. I called my attorney immediately. He said it was a common move. One party tries to establish ownership or rights ahead of official proceedings. He advised me to document everything and absolutely not to leave the house, because physical possession matters in these situations. Then her mom called me directly. Not my wife. Her mom. I think we should talk, she said. Adult to adult. Without all the dramatics. Okay, I'm listening. My daughter made mistakes. I understand that. I'm not saying she's perfect, but you're throwing away a good marriage over wounded pride. With all due respect, you have no idea what my marriage has been like from the inside. I know my daughter loves you. Does she? Because for 6 years, all I've heard is how much better her ex was. At everything. Every single thing I do is compared to him and found lacking. Is that what love looks like to you? Silence. I didn't think so, I said. She's under a lot of pressure. Her job has been stressful, and you know she's always struggled with insecurity. And I've spent 6 years being patient about that. 6 years of never once comparing her to anyone. 6 years of trying to be understanding and supportive. I'm done. I'm not a rehabilitation center for her insecurities. I'm supposed to be her husband. Her mom started crying on the phone. Please, just give her one more chance. She'll go to therapy. She'll work on herself. She promises. She should definitely go to therapy. That would be good for her. But she should do it for herself. Not to say to marriage she spent 6 years undermining. I hung up. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Just a screenshot. It was from my wife's social media, a post from 3 years ago. A photo of her and her ex at someone's wedding, dressed nice, standing close together with a caption about running into old friends and some connections just don't fade. I hadn't known about that post. She'd never mentioned seeing him. Ever. The text with a screenshot just said, "Thought you should know they've been in contact more than she's admitted. Sorry, man. I don't know who sent it. Don't really care." What mattered was this. She'd been secretly meeting up with this guy. The guy she compared me to constantly. The guy she never shut up about. And she never mentioned a single encounter to me. Update 2, 12 days later. Alright, so, the last week has been absolutely wild. After I found out about the secret contact with her ex, I did some digging. Not stalking, just looking at things I'd never thought to look at before. Her social media accounts, which I'd honestly never paid much attention to. Our shared cloud storage where old photos were backed up automatically. Stuff like that. What I found made my stomach drop. At least 4 separate occasions over the past 3 years where she'd seen her ex as friends. Dinners, coffee dates, once a concert when I was traveling for work. All completely hidden from me. All arranged through messages she thought were private. Was it physical cheating? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. But emotional? The messages I could see fragments of were telling. Lots of, "I miss our conversations," and "You always got me in a way nobody else does," and "Sometimes I wonder what life would have looked like." I took screenshots of everything I could access. Sent them to my attorney. He said it strengthened my position considerably, especially if she tried to claim I was abandoning a loving marriage for no reason. Then she came back to the house. Not to reconcile. To get some of her things, she said. But she also had a specific agenda. To convince me to try couples therapy instead of jumping straight to divorce. One chance, she said. Just give me one real chance to fix this. Therapy. 3 months. If nothing changes, then fine. You've been meeting up with your ex behind my back for 3 years, I said flatly, while comparing me to him constantly to my face. That's not something 3 months of therapy fixes. She went white. How do you? Doesn't matter how. What matters is that you lied. For 3 years. While making me feel like garbage for not being him. Nothing happened. I swear to God. Nothing physical ever. I don't care if it was physical. You kept a whole relationship hidden from me. A relationship with the exact person you won't stop comparing me to. How am I supposed to trust a single word that comes out of your mouth? She didn't have an answer for that. She left with some of her clothes and personal items. I didn't stop her. Didn't engage with her crying or her apologies or her promises to do whatever it takes. I just watched her, pack and let her go. 2 days later, her mom showed up at my workplace. Yes, at my actual job, the place where I earn the income that paid for most of our house. I work in a professional office setting, business casual, open floor plan, clients occasionally walking through. And here comes my mother-in-law, marching past reception, demanding loudly to speak to me about a family emergency. My manager came over to my desk with this confused expression like, there's a woman here claiming she's your mother-in-law. Says it's urgent? Should I call security? I went to the lobby, told my mother-in-law very calmly and quietly that this was my place of employment and she needed to leave immediately. Not until you agree to sit down with my daughter like a rational adult. You're embarrassing yourself, I said, and you're embarrassing your daughter. Coming to someone's workplace is harassment. Leave now, or I'll have security escort you out and I will file a formal report. She left, but not before saying loudly enough for half the lobby to hear, "You're going to regret treating my family this way." My manager asked afterward if I was okay. I gave him the short version. Going through a difficult divorce. Wife's family doesn't accept it and is acting inappropriately. He was sympathetic. Said to let him know immediately if she came back. That night, I documented the workplace incident in detail and added it to my file. My attorney said it was useful, showed a pattern of harassment and boundary violations. Then came the move I genuinely didn't see coming. Her ex reached out to me, not through some anonymous text this time, directly, a DM on social media with his real profile, his real name. His message was short. "Hey, I heard from mutual people that you and your wife are getting divorced. I want you to know that nothing physical ever happened between us while you were married." She reached out to me a few times over the years, and I probably should have shut it down harder, but I didn't think it was my place to interfere. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, she talked about you a lot when we met up, mostly complaining if I'm being honest. I always wondered why she married you if she was so unhappy. Anyway, I thought you deserved to know the full picture. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied, "Thanks for telling me. One question, did she ever mention that she compared me to you constantly? Like on a daily basis?" He replied, "Yeah, she brought that up a few times. Said it was her way of motivating you to be better, pushing you to improve." I told her straight up that was messed up and would backfire. She didn't want to hear it, motivating me by constantly telling me I wasn't good enough, by holding up her college boyfriend as the gold standard I could never reach. I screenshot that entire conversation, sent it to my attorney. Then I did something petty. I'll admit it freely. I forwarded that screenshot to my wife. No comment, no explanation, just the screenshot of her own ex calling her behavior messed up. She called me 16 times that night. I didn't answer a single one. Her final voicemail was just her sobbing saying, "He had no right to talk to you, and you're deliberately trying to turn everyone against me, and this is so unfair." The next day, I filed the divorce papers officially. Final update, 3 weeks later. So, it's done. Well, mostly done. The divorce is officially in process. Our state requires a mandatory waiting period, so it won't be finalized for a few more months, but all papers are filed. We've agreed on terms through our attorneys, and the house is listed for sale. Here's how the asset division shook out. For those curious about the practical reality, the house gets sold, and we split the equity 50-50. That's fair. We both contributed, even if my contribution was larger. I'm not going to fight over 10% when I just want this over with. We each keep our own retirement accounts, our own savings, our own vehicles. Clean split. No alimony either direction. We both have careers. I'm walking away lighter than I came in, financially speaking. Legal fees ate into things substantially. The housing market isn't amazing right now, so we'll probably get less than we hope for the house. That's the reality of divorce. Everyone loses something. But here's what I gained. My sanity. My self-respect. My peace. Now, for the satisfying part, because I know that's what y'all are really reading for. The fallout from my soon-to-be ex-wife has been significant. First, her friend group. Remember how she was telling everyone I had a mental breakdown and was cruelly abandoning her? Well, those screenshots I mentioned, the ones showing her secret meetups with her ex, and the messages where he confirmed her behavior was messed up, those have a way of getting around in social circles. I didn't post them publicly. I'm not trying to destroy her publicly. But when her friends reached out to me directly to call me a monster, I responded with context. Just facts. Here's what actually happened over 6 years. Here's documentation. Make your own conclusions. Most of them stopped reaching out after seeing the evidence. A few actually apologized for assuming the worst about me. One said, "I always thought it was weird how obsessively she talked about her ex. Now I understand why you left." Second, her mother. The woman who showed up at my workplace and caused a scene? Turns out that little stunt got back to my wife's father, who I've always gotten along with okay. He was not pleased about his wife harassing me at my job. There was apparently a significant family blow-up about boundaries, inappropriate behavior, and making the family look crazy. He actually sent me a brief apology text. Just, "I'm sorry for my wife's behavior at your workplace. It was wrong, and I've addressed it." He also mentioned that his daughter had finally been forced to admit to the family about the secret meetings with her ex. His words, "She has some growing up to do. I wish you well going forward." Unexpected, but genuinely appreciated. Third, and this is the part that brings me a certain grim satisfaction. The ex. Remember how my wife spent 6 years comparing me to this perfect, flawless, amazing guy? The guy who never disappointed her, who made restaurant-quality food and remembered everything and was so ambitious and successful. Turns out, once word circulated that she was getting divorced and had been secretly meeting up with him, his girlfriend found out. The girlfriend he'd been with for 4 years. The girlfriend he was apparently planning to propose to soon. She dumped him, and my wife, fresh off filing for divorce, apparently thought this was her golden opportunity. Her chance. The universe finally aligning to give her what she always truly wanted, a second chance with her perfect ex. She reached out to him, made her move, said something along the lines of, "Now that we're both single, we can finally be together the way we were always meant to be." He turned her down, completely, finally, decisively. According to what filtered back to me through mutual connections, he told her that he'd moved on from her years ago, and she was living in a fantasy version of our past that never actually existed, that he never seriously considered getting back together, that he only stayed in occasional contact because he felt somewhat sorry for her, and that, frankly, her behavior toward me throughout our marriage had shown him a side of her personality he found genuinely ugly. She spent 6 years telling me this guy was perfect, holding him over my head constantly like a trophy I could never win, making me feel like a consolation prize she'd reluctantly settled for because she couldn't have what she really wanted. And when she finally got her chance, he didn't want her either. I'm not going to lie. When I heard that, I laughed. I actually laughed out loud alone in my apartment. Not because I'm glad she's suffering. I don't wish her genuine harm. But the irony is just too perfect. She destroyed our marriage chasing a fantasy. And the fantasy looked at her and said no thanks. As for me now, I'm okay. Really and truly okay. The apartment I'm renting while the house sale process is small, but it's entirely mine. Nobody criticizes my cooking. Nobody compares me to anyone. I go to bed without that knot in my stomach wondering what I'll be found lacking in tomorrow. I started seeing a therapist, not because I'm falling apart, but because 6 years of being constantly told you're not good enough does something to a person. Even when you know intellectually it's not true, it gets inside you. She's helping me untangle all that. My friends have been solid throughout this. The real ones, anyway. The ones who actually know me as a person, not just the version of me my ex presented. My sister told me last week that she's proud of me. Said she'd been worried about me for years. Watched me get quieter and more withdrawn and didn't know how to address it. She's relieved I finally stood up for myself. Some nights are still hard. I'd be lying if I said they weren't. 6 years is substantial. There were genuinely good moments buried in there somewhere. Earlier years, before the comparisons became constant background noise. Before I became just a series of disappointments to her. But mostly, I feel relief. Like I've been holding my breath underwater for 6 years, and I'm finally breaking the surface. To anyone reading this in a similar situation, being constantly compared, constantly criticized, constantly made to feel insufficient, you don't have to stay. You're not obligated to be someone's emotional punching bag just because you made vows. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. And sometimes, if there's any justice, the person who made you feel so small discovers that the grass isn't greener elsewhere. It's just different grass. And nobody else is going to tolerate their nonsense forever either. The pasta I made myself last night was excellent, by the way. Perfectly seasoned. Thanks for listening.